6 episodes. We about to kick it with my partners and my folks, so close the door. If you hungry for some knowledge, yeah, you got it, here we go. For my leaders and my queens, we building on Astro.
Yes, sir, we building on Astro.
Riding down 33rd, she
That
said,
down, man. Y'all see it, man. 33rd Universe. I'm your Astro tour guide. 33rd eye. What's the 441 family? We got a new topic, man. I'm gonna dive in together as I'm learning. I kind of wanted to teach myself as I did some research. So y'all see the title. We're gonna get into it right now, man. Let's pause this information. Let's pause this video because you talking too much, my boy. Mudras, gang related. So mudras, if you can't really pick up what I'm talking about, mudras are symbols and signs that we use, either a physical sign or a sign that we imitate with our hands or, whatever. So, you're throwing up the heart sign, saying I love you to somebody, that's a mudra. You know what I'm saying? Pardon me again, because I'm outside. I'm in the office. Spirit couldn't wait, man. Spirit said, man, go outside, do this lecture right now. I was like, I don't really want to go right now. He said, no, just go right now. So I'm outside, man. I'm going to get into this lecture. I put this together real quick. I ain't going to say real quick. It took me a few days, but as I was researching through it, I put a lot of things together, and I found them very interesting. So y'all stay with me. I'm your Astro tour guide. You know how we do. We dive deep into the depths of a topic, and we shine light on particular things, and we pull them out so that we can investigate further. And we want to connect the dots along this ride. So put your seatbelts on, get your little drink or your little sip, whatever you got to do, because I want us to begin to build, you know what I'm saying? As you hear these conversations, you put into the space bar what you feel like we should be talking about. I can build on the entire topic. Just give me a topic and I'll go do the research and the particular things that's needed so that we can bring, some clarity on a lot of things, because there's a lot of false narratives and there's a lot of propaganda in the world, and as we become enlightened, we want to be able to help each other see clearly. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to be wandering through the dark, and then when we figure out, some answers to some things, we don't know how to assist our brothers and our sisters. The crabs in the barrel mentality. And I learned that the crabs in the barrel, anytime that they're faced with an obstacle, what they do is climb on top of each other until they can get to the top. So once the first crab makes it out of the barrel, they pull everyone out all in together. So Cancer, if you know Cancer, their sign is a crab, and the crab is very hard on the outside, but it seems to be softer on the inside because we eat them, or a lot of us eat them, blah blah blah. But the motherly quality is in the crab, the Cancer, and that's more so how we should be taking care of each other, helping each other out. You know what I'm saying? So mudras is the topic. Gang related is just some funny, wordplay. First slide, let's get into it. Okay, the 5 elemental constructs. This is something important I think we needed to build on first before we get into the topic. This is the star, and you've seen this star in a lot of different places, and you've seen it represent a lot of different things, but this is the elemental star, and these teachings come from way back in the early Moorish science, and the Moorish science stems from Egyptian texts, and even Dogon and astrological texts. They deal with this wheel and these elements. So you're looking at spirit at the top, and you make your way on around the wheel clockwise, and you have the first element, spirit at the top, like I said, but the first element after that is air, fire, earth, then water. And these 5 elements make up the entire being as a elemental construct, because we all are etheric beings, whether we have a spirit or we have a spirit and a soul. We have an etheric nature to our bodies, and our bodies possess these metaphysical qualities that possess that rely on a particular mode. So, for instance, air is all about transmission of thoughts. The thoughts that come upon us can be induced by many, many different things, but the air element rules this construct, and it safely and swiftly gets information to and from. You know what I'm saying? If you're looking at the fire element does a lot of different things. I wrote down purge and breakdown because that's one of the biggest things that fire can do. Fire does. It can demolish things, and it can create a new place to have space for your creations. You know what I'm saying? You could burn a house down, and then after the house is burned down, clean the debris up, and you'll have a space for a new creation. And that's all fire is about, because if it's not able to create, it's going to destroy something. So you want to always channel that creative side of yourself so that you can maintain that balance within this spiritual construct that we call an avatar that we have inside of us. All these elements are possessing a particular part of our body. So you get around the earth, the stability and the protection, and that's all that earth is about. It's all about protection in way of gaining enough physical stability for the future, and in case there's a bad situation or a bad timing the future holds, they have the physical wherewithal to gather what they need and to store it so that they can so that they can outlast a cold winter, like Capricorn. Capricorn is the best at stability and protection because it is a cardinal energy that goes out and gets it, and it packs a lot of extras. It gets extras. If you know anything about Capricorn, they have a lot of physical things. They have a lot of physical wants or physical needs. And this is simply the playing out of being able to protect themselves in a manner of withstanding the rain, the snow, and any other element that attacks it. That's what Earth does. Earth will be here after all elements have corroded. Even fire. Fire can burn up Earth, but at some point, Earth can put out fire. So we get around to the last element, the water, and the water deals with the psychic abilities, and the water has the emotional qualities that deal with stability of the emotional body. As we all know, we're very, very vast percent of water. Our avatar is 79% water. I don't remember, but that we have a lot of possession inside the water. Inside the water aspect, and the water aspect gives us the understanding that we have an emotional quality about us that many other animals may not have, or mammals may not have. And that emotional quality is an experience that we are here to fully dive into. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of different cliches on emotions and a lot of different understandings on emotions and why people don't use them, why people don't want to lean on them, why people only lean on their emotional understanding. There's a lot of different understandings, but if you really dig into the physical avatar, it lets you know right then and there that we are mostly water beings, and our psychic abilities are very apparent, number one. And then the emotional stability is up to you, but the emotional experience overall will be the highlight of this this what we call life, living. Like, I think the emotional standpoint of things is the highlight of our, life, because oh, you're so happy, oh, I'm so sad, oh, I'm so upset. All these different emotions can and engulf your spirit, and your spirit is now taking on a trip to wherever those emotions take you. And if you are a person that is very unstable, you have a bipolar stance, because every way the water turns, you jump on that wave and want to go that way. A lot of times when you're riding on the water, you have to understand that the waves are going to catch a lot of times, but you have to stay the course. You have to keep your knots going a certain degree and have the degrees lined up so that you have the forward girth to continue on with those waves. So water is a particular aspect that we do not nurture in the astrological or the elemental construct so much. Even myself, I'm a very, very emotionally ignorant person. I can allow my emotional self to stagnate my progress sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Next slide. So this diagram on the left is very, very interesting and very cool. I love the facts about this metaphysical breakdown. So think about how unique your hands are. A handshake can tell a lot about a person, and that's because the energy fields activated inside the palms are connected to the crown chakra. And if we understand the root, which is down on number 1, and we're going up to the crown chakra, all these are levels of the chakra system that the kundalini rises through. And it's like a river. The river starts at the root down at the 1 on this diagram, and it goes all the way up to this 7, which sprouts out above the physical avatar, and it has a shining aura, which creates a 33rd like characteristic, because that's the Christ number. That's the Christ energy. 33 vertebrae are along this spinal section, meeting root to the crown. They call it the rooter to the tutor. That's that's how we was raised down in Carolina. But anyway, hands speak to the divine. We utilize this by way of mudra hand language, and we'll get deeper into the mudra hand language. But you see that the number 7 is connected to the top, and the hands right there. There's all these portals which are highlighted. You have the hand portals, you have the solar plexus portal, which is the biggest, and you have these throat portal, you have your crown portal, and then the feet. They're crossed up, but there's 2 chakra portals that receive and give off receive and give off intel through foot, hands, solar plexus, throat, and root. So we have to have an understanding as to which spaces develop a intel, and which ones receiving constantly and going, kind of like a gateway. So more appropriately, let's call them gateways. We have gateways at our crown chakra. We have gateways at our solar plexus. We have gateways at our hands. You know what I'm saying? And this is all new stuff to me. I'm fairly hip to every part of the spiritual aspects, but dealing specifically with mudras, I'm very new to, and I'm very energized to get some of this information. So I hope y'all are staying with me and understanding what I'm trying to portray. So if you notice that the 7 and the 7, they're crowns, and the crown chakra is a connection to the pineal, which is a higher dimension of understanding. Gemini rules the hands. Gemini can be a special sign if you really look into them. They are connected to the Aldebaran star, which is connected to the constellation of Taurus, and it's the largest and brightest star inside of that constellation. It's the red eye of the bull, and it's the royal star. It's 4 royal or regal stars in the sky. I can't remember the names. I even got my book in front of me, but for now you got Aldebaran as one of them. I think Regulus is another, and Taurus. I can't remember the fourth, but they bring in, anytime you're in conjunction with this star in the natal chart, it brings royalty and wealth to the life. You know what I'm saying? So if your sun sign is a Gemini in the 9th degree, you mean you have a conjunction with the Aldebaran star, and you might have a real fiery attitude, but you have a regalness and a royal attitude amongst yourself, because this is part of the wealth in the sky. Next slide. Let's get into it. Okay, sign language. You see that cute little third eye in between the hands, and I thought that was very, very telling and very, very connected to this slide presentation, because I always see this, and I'm sure you do too. You see that hand with the third eye in the middle, and it's like, what is that about? But it goes back to what I was saying on this slide right here, when it shows the hands as the crown connection. So connects you to the subconscious spirit and allows communication through the use of hands, gestures that are used throughout history and to this day by many organizations claiming to be secret societies included. Next slide. So enlightened individuals like the Jeff Fort crew that come out of Chicago, Black Peace Stones, El Raccoon, they were Moorish students. They followed the Noble Drew Ali plan, and Noble Drew Ali had Moorish science, and he tapped into a lot of different Egyptian teachings and a lot of different Dogon teachings. The ancient texts give a lot of different sciences, astrology included, that they follow and they learn. So these Black Peace Stones, these brothers began to protect the streets of Chicago with their lessons and their learnings. But the coolest part about this was the fact that, gang members, they a lot of times throw gang signs in with the hands, and the hand language is very, very prominent. They have the stacking and the sets that they throw, or that they are announcing or denouncing someone else's gang. All these things were very important because the origination is due to more science, and as it got deeper into the progression, it got a lot more ignorant and a lot less connected to the root. So we began to use our hands because we understood that the connections were through enlightenment. So there's a lot of different things that you can do with your hands when you meditate or when you pray, or a lot of different things that you do in ascension to understanding how natural energy is understood on this 3D plane. Next slide. And you can see right here, you have another portion of individuals using hand signs as well. And these also are originations of the original text. But just like the sun and the dark, or the sun and the moon, there's a day and a light, there's a good and a bad, there's always a force that can be used for different understandings and energy. So if you pay attention to these people on television and these people in our judicial systems, they have a lot of hand symbols that matches each other's hand symbols. And these are just a few that I could find to show you guys an example, but it goes back to the understanding of pledging your allegiance. I think when you pledge your allegiance to the flag, you got to put your hand over your brow, and there's a lot of different Masonic understandings to those gestures alone, but just the things that we do with our hands on a day-to-day basis, they're very, very key and very, very important. Back to the handshake. You give a handshake to a person, you have a very, very key understanding as to, not key, but you have a very intuitive understanding as to who that individual may be, because it taps into their crown chakra and you're receiving their crown energy, and it is a clear understanding. If you're an intuitive being like myself, I can read someone just by looking at them, but if you give me a handshake, I can understand what type of energy you put off. Nervous energy, if you put off confident energy, if you're the type that might lie, if you're the type to be overbearing. I can understand all of that just by a handshake. And me personally, I'm a Gemini stellium, so it's an intuitive understanding that's tied into my avatar, that by handshakes I can really get the gist of who you are. You know what I'm saying? But if you look at these guys, they know who their allegiance is to, because they're throwing their hand signs to them, and the most successful ones continue to throw the same hand signs. If you ever understand the Masonic rituals that they do on a day-to-day basis, a lot of times involving us and our children, watching them as witnesses, we allow a lot of inappropriate activity on this television. So I'm asking you today, pay attention to what you are watching, first of all, and then get an understanding so that you can circumvent the particular things that your children are watching, because it's a wicked world out here. So we're talking about manipulating the elements, right? And that's all has been going on in these past few slides. This is a real quick presentation. We got a few more to go, but I wanted to break down what I was investigating and the understandings. So let's go back just to peekaboo, make sure we're keeping up. Right, okay, so you have the hands being connected to Gemini. Gemini is also special sign because you understand Gemini is the connection to all things. In that third house, you have man, or you have son being born, but you have man and wife coming together after Aries and Taurus, and man and wife create a trifecta, which makes child. Child is the third coming, and the Christ energy that comes out of that third house. And that third house is going to speak its truth, is going to seek others' truth, is going to connect the dots. So Gemini being a very, very intuitive sign and a very, very connective sign to our matrix, you want to pay attention to the hands. All of us have a Gemini aspect inside of us right now. Mars is in retrograde in Gemini. So find out where Gemini sits in your natal chart. If you don't know, send me, DM me a picture of your chart and I can tell you. Let's go back to our slide in advance after that. Bam. Twitter fingers. You know how you get them hands and you go to, when somebody's texting you and your fingers just get to going off and you done text a whole paragraph of some stuff that you don't really want to say. That's them Twitter fingers. Oh, y'all know what I'm talking about. It's all because the intuition done kicked in, and now you really gonna tell them what he talking about. A lot of people on Twitter, they get in trouble with these fingers, because these fingers get real spacey. And if you pay attention, ether is connected to the thumbs. They allow our thumbs to be connected to the iPad and the iPhone and this and that. And our thumbs usually control what we're typing on the phone. And it's an interesting concept, but it's worth thinking about because the etheric being is connected to the thumb. And the I always get a bad. dire culture, they have the understanding that each finger represents a particular element. And you can see on the left side, there's a set of 10 hands because there's there's other elements that are involved. The animals, there's a vowel, there's a um, elemental construct with the ether, the air, the fire, the water, and the earth. And then on this opposite side, there's the world of gods, the world of Buddha's disciples. So it goes to each finger. Each finger has a connection, and each finger has an understanding as to what it is spiritually connected to. My bad, y'all. I'm trying to read it and then decipher it at the same time. So let's get to the next slide, because these last two slides are the most important. I ain't gonna say important, but they're most interesting, because you have the mudras that we actually get to see, and you visualize the root, sacral, and the solar plexus. These are the first three. We got them upside down. We got them from top to bottom instead of from bottom to top. The root chakra connects with the thumb and the index touching. And each one of them has a connection depending on what you're trying to tap into. And the root, we know that is survival, and it's the physical aspects of things. The sacral is the emotional standpoint and the creative aspects of this space. The solar plexus can be the willpower to do something, get that intuition of how to get involved into something because you've received that message from the enlightened spirits above. Solar plexus energy receives energy from intel from the divine. So if you pay attention to the mudras are very, very key as to which finger that you put together with another finger, because that's ultimately connecting a different part of spirit and a different part of the vow, all that stuff that was in the last chart. I'm still learning it, so don't get me to line. The next section is the yam and the heart chakra. The heart chakra is the same as the root chakra. Coincidentally, the heart and the root must be connected. Red and green, that's a Christmas color. And the Christmas time, you have awakening spirit. So a lot of things resonate as you put together chakra understandings or hidden understandings that make more sense as you stack truths on truth on truth on truth, and you get more alignment to as what's going on. So as you understand that the heart and the root are connected to Christmas, because in the Christmas time you're saving up for that survival, because it's winter time, blase blah, and a lot of times people take off for the winter. But you're also supposed to be growing that optimistic, joyous side so that you can have a direct alignment with spirit. Once you have direct alignment with spirit, you get the understandings and the awakenings, and the philosophies become more apparent so that you can take it into fifth gear and you can get into that Capricorn-esque energy around Christmas. And that Capricorn-esque energy is that let's go get this money. But you have, like I said, you have the heart and the root connected. You go back to the diagram, you have the throat chakra, and the throat chakra is real similar to the sacral chakra. So if you put those into connection, you understand that the more emotional balance you have, the more awareness that your throat has to say certain things, how to say certain things, when to say certain things, and what not to say. It's kind of like the filter if you have your sacral chakra balance. So each one of these chakras balance another chakra, and they're specifically connected. And if one of them is blocked, the other one will be affected just as much. So you have these diagrams that deal with mudras, and you also saying the sounds that operate the throat chakra that I have not spoke on. Over on the right side down at the bottom is telling you which sound to go with which chakra. I didn't identify that. But you keep going down, you have the throat chakra. The third eye chakra is the intuitive space. It's the wisdom and the knowledge that you are able to connect the, like, I guess I would say the bullshit meter, because your spirit can't be bullshitted unless it's just blind, if your P-now is just blinded to a particular aspect of things, then it's not going to pick up on this particular intuition. But if it can see clearly, the third eye is the first eye, and it sees first, and then the visual comes in with the physical. Then the crown is the spiritual connection. All of this lines up and it connects to the spirit. And it's tying in, if you look at that one's interesting because it's tying in all of the elements together. But you have your pinky fingers pointed upward, and your pinky fingers are back on this side. It's the earth aspect. And the earth aspect is really grounding yourself enough to know and understand that this is just a 3D experience that us spiritual beings have took along, whether it be a game, whether it be a progression through your spiritual experience. We all don't know. But you do know for one thing is for certain that you should not be attached to these things, because these things are only physical hologram, or I can't find the word. It's a outlook of what you are already envisioning from the inside, is what I'm trying to say in longer terms. Last slide, man. Manipulating the elements. This is all we was talking about. That's Avatar and the guys, man. They just sitting there laughing it up, talking about how they manipulate the elements all the times. They get to doing the hand gestures, and they rotating their arms around in a certain way. They meditate in a particular manner. The Buddhist monks, all of these people that dove into an enlightenment that understood the progression of connecting with source. And mudras are a very, very key symbolism and way to keep the subconscious attached to the things that they do not constantly know how to think about. That's, in other words, you just keeping something on your mind without keeping it on your mind, and letting spirit know that you're connecting to this particular thing anytime that you do this. It's a signal. It's like the back call. So spirit sees that hand signal, and it's like, okay, bet, I'm going to send that down your way. Just be cool, ice cold. You know what I'm saying? That's all that really was. I really forgive. I really hope y'all forgive me for the quick lecture. This is a real quick lecture. Spirit said get out here and do it. Whatever I said in the midst of my stuttering and all my other messing up, I appreciate y'all hanging in there listening to what I had to say. Tap in, man. What's the 441? We got a whole lot of things going on, as we always do. Astrology is one of my favorite things to talk about. If it ain't astrology, I'm still learning it. And I'm still learning astrology, so I'm just talking mess. But I want to build on astro If you want to build on Astro, tap in with me, man. We can talk about your chart. I'm saying it's all kind of things. We can talk about you being a parent to your child. How can you be a better parent? You can understand your kids much better with a particular way of astrologically seeing your child. I'm very good at all of that, fluid in that language. But we learning the mudras, and I'm going to come back with a better mudra video. Not saying this is not a good one, but we had to start somewhere. I wanted to do this one on the fly as the Spirit told me. I appreciate y'all again. Peace, love, and light. 33rd eye, we gone.